Hello, truth seekers, and welcome back to the channel. Ever wondered how far scientists will go in the name of discovery? Today, we're peeling back the curtain on some of the most audacious, mind-boggling, and sometimes ethically questionable experiments ever conducted. These aren't your average high school lab projects. We're talking about studies that pushed boundaries, challenged our understanding of humanity, and left a lasting mark on science, for better or worse. So buckle up, because you're about to hear about experiments so wild, you'll question if they actually happened. Prepare to have your mind blown as we delve into a world where the quest for knowledge led to some truly unbelievable scenarios. From manipulating minds to testing the limits of obedience, these stories are stranger than fiction. Let's get started. Milgram's 1960 shock experiment. Told to zap a stranger by a scientist, participants tested obedience to authority. How far would they go? The learner in another room, an actor, would scream in pain, plead to stop, and eventually fall silent. The real test was to see how many participants would obey orders to continue, even when they believed they were causing serious harm. The results were disturbing. Milgram showed many obey authority to an extreme, despite their morals. This unsettling obedience questions our individual responsibility. The ethical fallout was immense, sparking debates about psychological harm to participants and the use of deception in research. It fundamentally changed how psychological experiments are reviewed and conducted, emphasizing the need to protect those who take part in studies. Stanford, 1971. Zimbardo's basement mock prison. Healthy male students randomly assigned as prisoners or officers tested the psychological effects of perceived power and the resulting officer-prisoner dynamics, a pivotal study into human behavior. What was planned as a 2-week study descended into chaos within days. The guards quickly became authoritarian, exhibiting cruel and abusive behavior. The prisoners, in turn, became submissive, showing signs of severe stress and psychological distress. It was alarming. The experiment had to be shut down after only 6 days due to the extreme emotional toll on participants. Zimbardo himself admitted he became too engrossed in his role as prison superintendent, losing his objective researcher's perspective. The situation escalated rapidly. The Stanford Prison Experiment dramatically illustrated how readily people conform to social roles, especially in situations of unequal power. It remains a stark warning about the corrupting influence of power and the importance of ethical oversight in any research setting. Let's rewind to the 1920s. Carney Landis wanted to see if common facial expressions were universal for emotions like shock, disgust, or joy. To do this, he exposed his subjects, mostly students, to a bizarre and often disturbing array of stimuli. This one gets pretty grim. Participants smelled ammonia, heard jazz, saw explicit content, and touched frogs. For the finale, dispatch a live rat. If they refused, Landis often did it himself as they watched. Landis photographed their faces throughout, hoping to find consistent muscular patterns for each emotion. Ironically, his main finding was that people's expressions varied wildly. There wasn't a single universal expression for shock or any other emotion he was testing. The ethical concerns here are glaring. Participants were subjected to extreme stress and forced to perform acts that caused significant discomfort and potential trauma. This kind of research would be unthinkable today, highlighting how much ethical standards have evolved. Now for a truly shadowy chapter, Project MKUltra. This was the codename for a series of secret CIA experiments on mind control that began in the 1950s. The agency was desperate to develop techniques to control human behavior, often using unwitting subjects. MKUltra used mind-altering drugs, hypnosis, sensory deprivation, isolation, and abuse on U.S. or Canadian citizens. These experiments, often non-consensual, occurred at universities, hospitals, and prisons. The full extent of MKUltra remains shrouded in secrecy, as many records were deliberately destroyed in the 1970s. However, what we do know points to a shocking abuse of power and a flagrant disregard for human rights, all in the name of national security. It's chilling. The legacy of MKUltra is one of deep distrust and countless unanswered questions. It serves as a dark reminder of the dangers when scientific inquiry is untethered from ethical accountability, especially when wielded by powerful government agencies. Sci-fi horror became reality. In the 1950s, Soviet scientist Vladimir Demikov, a transplantology pioneer, created two-headed dogs by grafting the head and forelimbs of one dog onto another. These unfortunate creatures typically only survived for a few days. The one reportedly lived for almost a month. Demikov's aim was to advance surgical techniques for organ transplantation, and in that, he did make some contributions. But the visual was undeniably grotesque. Publicized experiments showcased Soviet science, but also its perceived cruelty. His work advanced human transplants, yet ethical costs and animal suffering remain debated. This research forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about the value of animal lives in scientific progress and where the line should be drawn. It's a stark example of how far some are willing to go to push the boundaries of what's surgically possible. So there you have it, some of the most unbelievable and craziest science experiments ever documented. They certainly make you think, don't they? From testing obedience to exploring the dark side of power, these studies reveal uncomfortable truths about ourselves and society. While many of these experiments yielded valuable insights, they also highlight the critical importance of ethical guidelines in research. Science has the power to do incredible good, but it must always be tempered with compassion and respect for all living beings. What do you think? Were these scientists brave pioneers, or did they go too far? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective on these controversial studies. Which experiment shocked you the most? Don't forget to like this video if you found it as mind-bending as we did, and subscribe for more dives into the fascinating and sometimes unsettling world of science. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next exploration. Thanks for watching.